This is the first time doing this. This is really weird for me too.
Yeah.
I'll just edit it to make it smooth. That's how I've been doing it. I feel really ridiculous. Hi. So I'm sitting here with Christoph Neumayer, who I had the pleasure of meeting last year when I first walked in. I saw you shooting, and my jaw kind of dropped. Not because of like, you know, you're good, which you are, right? But also because I saw a really strong mental game, and you were like. You didn't have any of that pressure. You didn't pressure yourself. You know, you look like you were very, very focused, very using your imagination about what you were doing. And so that's why I was like, just kept watching and trying to observe every step of what you're trying to do. And so yeah, how about we start with that? Like, when you're stepping into a shot, when you're about to step into a shot, what's going on in your mind?
Yeah, I think I had to sort of learn this to really imagine every shot.
Yeah.
So when I step into a shot, I have like some routine that is always more or less the same, right? But before I go down into the shot, I kind of try to imagine like where's the cue ball gonna go, which rails am I gonna hit, and then I always try to kind of voice that out, not just imagine it, but also like what do I actually need to do to achieve that. And for me, this actually is really like a mantra to stay in the game. So, you know, it's not always that I look super focused. Sometimes if you have a lot of pressure or I just feel weird, then it helps me actually get into that zone. Like I might start out feeling kind of nervous or feeling a bit sort of all over the place, kind of scatterbrained. I'm not quite sure like what to do. And then once I kind of voice things out and I really visualize things, it starts to just calm me down. And then I think that's when you start to have this kind of like focused look, and you know you can then get into this kind of flow state where you sort of blend out a lot of the noise. Especially if you play straight pool, then that's really, I think, when you can start to feel this flow where you just like.
Where you're just shooting lights out.
Yeah, you're just shooting
and feels natural.
Yeah, you just don't feel any pressure because you just kind of like secure that you're doing the right things. Yeah.
That makes sense. Was this taught? Were you taught this, or did you just kind of like slowly develop over the years?
No, yeah, I think I think I watched a lot of stuff, like a lot of matches from other people, YouTube, all that kind of things. But I think I sort of slowly built that up for myself, where I started to just realize that anytime I played really well was because I just was able to visualize what I want to do. And then I started to realize, I can use that to just get into this state. And it's sort of like a meditative stuff where, you can just like voice it out loud. And if I don't do it, then I get distracted. And I make silly mistakes because I might think, this is an easy shot. But then I didn't clearly think it through because it's just been like a vague idea. But once I voice it out, it actually crystallizes. And I'm like, I might even realize certain things that I might have done wrong. Like if I'm just about to shoot a shot and I like just think, just like stop shot or whatever. But maybe I didn't think it through and I actually need like a tiny bit of right spin or so. And I catch this kind of stuff when I voice it out, which I wouldn't do if I don't do it. So I started to feel, this is much more reliable. And so then I really kind of started to use it more frequently in the game. But yeah, it didn't start out like that. It just took a while.
Yeah. Over the course of how many, do you feel like it's still something in progress, or do you feel like you're still working it out?
Yeah, I think it's still in progress. I think sometimes I'm not doing it. It's kind of like lazy or whatever. I'm just like starting a match and I'm like not doing it, and then I'm 2-0 down, and I'm like, oh man, this is dumb. So then I start to do it. But yeah, I think it's actually better under pressure. Like if I play a big match, then I feel from the start I'm more focused, and from the start I try to do that. Versus if it's like a league match or so, and I'm not super concerned that I might lose, then I might not do it. But then I play bad and I get angry at myself. So then I start to do it again. So yeah, it's still in progress.
Like a self-motivation kind of.
Yeah, so it comes and goes.
Yeah.
But I try to just kind of make it part of the normal routine. And I actually think that a lot of like young people now, you can see them walk around the table and they're like might point to a certain part on the rail, or they might point with their Q-tip on a certain spot in the table. And I think it really helps them. Like, for example, there's a Spanish guy, Jonas Soto, I think is his name, and he does it like in every match. And I really think it makes him very consistent. And there's like other people, you know, like Jason Shaw or Joshua, they are much more quick players. And I think a lot of people think, oh, that's how I can play. But you have to think that these are two of the best players in the world, right?
Yeah.
They might say that just in their head. They might just point to that spot in their head, but they don't like go around the table marking it with their fingers. But for beginners, I think that's the way to go. You just like for each shot, you dictate where do I want to be, which rails, where.
It's like a progressive thing,
yeah,
isn't
it's
it,
a progressive
right?
thing.
Yeah.
You cannot expect that, oh, I'm going to play like Joshua and I'm just going to sort of...
Yeah, like I'm just going to go into
so
this
smooth,
rail
right?
and I'm going to put like low left English and it's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
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 That makes sense. And that's probably why it's like a progressive thing for you, right? Because there's some little thing that you're like, okay, I need to be more conscientious of this now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were also mentioning flow, right? Is it like was there ever a point where what gets you into a flow?
I think it requires a little bit of time. Like I'm talking like minutes. So let's say you play straight pool, it probably would take me 2 or 3 racks to really get into the flow. So let's say a round of 42 balls or so, then I start to feel this kind of feeling. So in 9-ball or 10-ball or some of the rotation games, it's hard to get into that like flow because it's, you know, you might break and you might not make a ball and suddenly your flow is over. So it's much more fragmented and you might have safeties and stuff like that. So I think straight pool is really the game where you can feel it the best.
Yeah.
And that takes like, you know, 42 balls probably takes me like 20 minutes or so. So it takes a while.
Yeah.
But then I think once you're in it, even if you miss and you get a chance, you know, quickly afterwards, you kind of can maintain that state. Whereas in 9-ball, I mean, 9-ball you can break and run like, you know, let's say 3 or 4 racks. So yeah, I had it in 9-ball where if I break, let's say 3 racks and I run 3 racks, then I start to feel this kind of sensation. But it's not that common. I think it's more a straight pool thing. Yeah.
So it's easier to get into it with certain games, you think?
Yeah. Just like certain games, like one pocket, I don't think you will ever feel a state of flow.
Yeah,
right? It's so like fragmented in a way.
Yeah.
And like I said, with 9-ball, if you don't see the 1 ball and you have to play it safe, you're gonna sit down for like 30 seconds to a minute while your opponent is there, and then it's already sort of broken that state. Right?
That's true. Yeah. I tried 1 pocket. That was a very challenging game. It's like about like slowly migrating your balls into like favorable positions. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So there was a period where I tried to manipulate going into flow. And I would try to like use like breathing exercises or you know, meditational things, and yeah, that didn't work out. That didn't work out very well for me. Did you ever try something?
I think one breathing exercise that I started to use now, it's actually more for anxiety management and stuff. I think it's called 4-7-8. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and you breathe out for 8 seconds. And basically all it does is slow down your pulse. But I used it now whenever I'm like nervous or play some important match. I try to do that every time I sit down, like when I'm not, when it's not my turn, or when, like, you know, I have a 9 and it's kind of tough, and I take some time. I just do this like 1 breathing routine, like 4-7-8. So basically that's like 20 seconds ish, right, just before the shot, to calm myself down, and I really feel that helps me. It's not like a state of flow, but it's more a state of calmness, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's possible to do that. Like if you keep doing it throughout the whole game, that you start to get into this state of flow, but it might be slightly different type. It might be more like a calmness feeling.
Yeah, which would probably pave the way toward getting into flow a lot more, make it a lot more conducive. Did you ever notice like so I noticed that like when I'm like in a match and this guy is like far better than I am, or possibly like far like worse than I am, right? Then like, no, actually far better. Then it's harder to get into a flow. Have you ever gotten into a flow with like a better player?
For me, that's the case more, yeah. Because if the person is better, then I'm from the start much more alert in a way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I cannot make a mistake, so I go more into this routine of like talking to myself or visualizing things. Versus if it's a worse player, I'm maybe a bit more careless, and so then I don't go into the state. Because also I might miss a ball and
you're like whatever.
Yeah, it's sort of like and so I think it's more of a better player thing. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. And so this Jonas guy that you were talking about, who takes like you say he takes like every match seriously or something, right?
Yeah, like every shot. Like I haven't watched him that much, but I think he just won Super Billiards Expo against Jason. And it's something I noticed that like he's very routine. You know, he has like a certain thing that he does for every shot. So he like walks around the table, he like points to where he wants to, and like hit the rail or where the cue ball is supposed to end up. And he sort of lays it out in his head, because of course you can visualize it like purely in your head. You can just kind of imagine I hit the rail at the first diamond or so. But if you go around the table and you're like, oh, I want to hit it there, you make a concrete plan. And then I think it makes it easier to follow that through. And I just noticed that he, for example, does that. And like, some other players don't do it. Doesn't mean that they're worse. It's just like I think helpful for people who want to get better to do that. And I think that there's like a misperception where people see these top players and it just looks so easy and whatnot, and they think, oh, this is like how they play, right? Like
going for the glory shots.
You're just like sort of loose and playing quick. And then you have like a lower level amateur player who want to imitate that play, but you're not nowhere near that level, right? Like these pros, they know exactly what they want to do, but as a beginner, your job is to be aware, like I want to play this in this shot and I want to be in this position. And so you really should instead play much more methodical, even if it's like boring and a drag in a way. It's actually kind of very satisfying if you tell yourself, oh, I want to hit there and whatnot, and you achieve that, and the cue ball does exactly what you planned. That can be an internal sense of satisfaction, and it also helps you not to look at an open table and see 9 balls and be like, oh my god, I have to run out. But instead, you break everything down into each individual shot. And so it's much more like a manageable tasks to just say, I have the 1 ball, I have the 2 ball, instead of seeing the whole rack. Because that's when people get overwhelmed, especially like lower level players. They might see the open table and they might be like, oh, I have to run out, there is no problems, everything's open. But then they misposition on the 3rd shot, right? And they are wrong. And so instead, if you break each part into its own unique problem, then you get less carried away and you get less distracted by winning or losing or running out or not running out. It's like every shot is important.
Yeah, every shot matters. And you have to stay in the moment. That's also a very harsh lesson, because then you can, even you, like you can easily, what did I call it? It's you muff the shot or. Do you have a term for it where you're not even thinking about it and you just kind of.
Yeah, wing it.
Wing it. That's a good word.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's go into your history for a few minutes, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so So I remember from last time you said that you started out at like kind of like a boot camp with like a couple of people, and you just like picked up a book and just went through the whole thing, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So what happened, like, I think, so this must have been like 2012 or 2013.
How old were you at this time?
So I must have been like 15, 14, something like that. And yeah, I think so. And so my brother used to play pool. And I always thought like that's kind of not a sport. I was more into like soccer and other stuff. And then it turned out that one of my classmates was also going to the same pool club, and my brother was kind of the junior coach or so. He wasn't like necessarily that good, but he was like helping these young teenagers out. And then
That's very nice of him.
yeah, and I mean he was part of the team, and,
Yeah.
and like someone had to teach the incoming young teenagers. So he did that, and then he moved to university and kind of like didn't play anymore.
Yeah.
But there was like a summer camp that was just like 2 days, and I didn't have anything else to do, and my friend from high school was going there. So I was like, okay, I'll just go. And then I was like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 teenagers. And at the end, there was like a small tournament. It was like race to 3 or something. And there was like all the other people, teenagers who already are part of the club, like my friend from high school, some of the other people who already knew how to play. And still, I got in 3rd place. And I was like, oh, this is actually fun. And I always was very competitive. So I was like, oh, I want to like see if I can do that again. And then I just committed and said, okay, I'll just go every Tuesday and Friday to that pool club. So it's not like in the US where it's like a bar. It's a club that's was only open Tuesday and Friday from like 6 p.m. to midnight or so. And it was purely for members of the club. So there was almost no like customers. It's just people who paid like a fee to join the club.
Do they have like other sports available, like a YMCA here, or just it was just for pool?
It was just pool. There was like 2 free cushion tables. So there was like a second club that was like free cushion club, but yeah, we didn't really like interact with them that much. And so then there was like 4 pool tables, and in Germany we play like a team league. There's like different levels and stuff. So I started to play in the club, and then I was like, okay, I want to join one of the teams to play in the team league. And there was one guy, and he was like, you know, a plus level player, and he had won like some state championship. He had played in the national championships, so he was, you know, pretty known also. And he just had like a great technique and not a lot of knowledge. And then he got a book from Ralph Eckert, who's like one of the top German coaches. And yeah, he was just like taking us through the whole book. So
which book is this actually, by the way?
It was like his first book. I forgot the name. Yeah, it's like pretty basic. So you just learn everything from just initial shot making, like ghost ball method, to then like, you know, more like position shots and like whatever draw shots and stuff. And so yeah, we had like a folder, and every one of us teenagers had to do all the exercises, and you had to always write how many you got out of 5 balls, out of 5 tries. So you always had to get 3 out of 5 to move to the next exercise. And I remember, I think I did like all of the initial exercises in like a month or so, and everyone else it took like 6 months or so. So that's when I realized, oh, this is actually fun, and I can actually progress really quick. So then
It's impressive. Yeah.
so then I joined the team, and then you have like these different levels. So the leagues are based on state, but then each state also has like individual regional leagues. So basically the sort of lowest league of the worst players is just like let's say like a 30 miles radius or something, right? It's like based on geography. And then out of those, the top teams move up to a bigger radius. So basically that's the better people. And then you have that basically going all the way from, let's say, 30 miles radius all the way to the whole state, right? So then you would have like, I think it's like split into 5 different skill levels. So let's say in California or whatever, you might have like the LA region, and then you might have like South California and North California and Central California and stuff like that. And finally it's California. So that's how it's set up. And then, so I played I started in the lowest league, and you play all 4 disciplines, but you play it as a team. So you have 2 rounds. And so you play 8 ball, 9 ball, 10 ball, but you are 4 people. So basically everyone gets assigned to one discipline, and then you play the second round, you play another discipline. So for example, I used to always play first round straight pool, and then second round I play 10 ball. So that's how the league started, and then it goes based on points. If you win, then you get 2 points. If you're even, you get 1 point. If you lose, you get 0 points. And then you play, it's like 6-7 teams in each league, and then like the top 2 teams usually move up to the next higher level. And then when you're at the state level, the top teams move into the regional level. So in Germany would then be, all of Germany would be split into 5 regions, and then it would move into 2 regions, so South and North, and then it will be top Germany. So it will be, that's the Bundesliga. And so there you would have then people like Ralf Suke, Albin Osha, Niels Feier, and they would all play in the German Bundesliga. And so I went basically through the ranks, and then I moved to a different club where Thorsten also used to play. And that's where I played in the state level. And then I moved away for a while.
Really quick. How long did it take from that 30-mile region to German?
So that was still the state region. So I basically went from local to like California state so, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was like 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I was still in the youth at that time. So there's like state championship and then national championships and stuff that's done for individuals. So we also have that as well.
Wait, give me like some context about like how much competition there is. Like, is pool pretty big in Germany?
I would say so. I think it's not as many people maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know the number right now, but I think any tournament you go to, most tournaments in Germany are much smaller. It's like $30 entry fee.
Yeah.
Here it's like $80 or so.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
Yeah, here you would have like free $30 entry, let's say, and then the first prize is like $400 or so. And still, you would have always some people with like a Fargo of 750, like would always show up. You would always have like 2 or 3 people like that level, and. Yeah, so you have like pretty decent competition. Like it's actually super hard to win even these tiny tournaments.
Yeah.
Because in where I grew up, there was someone called Filip Stojanovic. He used to play for Croatia. He was like #1 Croatia player. And
so you have people coming from.
No, he lived in Germany. But yeah, he was like 780 Fargo or something. He was like an actual pro at the time. And then we had like a bunch of people who played in the Bundesliga. So they're all like 770, 760 Fargo or higher. And so any tournament, you would have to deal with these people. Just like if you want to win, you have to beat them. And
do you get weighted all, or is it unweighted?
No, it's unweighted.
Unweighted.
Yeah, so no. That's why when I came here, I was like, "What is this?" You know, like everyone gets weight. That's like what?
Like, what is this bullshit?
Yeah, because I never got that. Like when I first started out, I had to suddenly I'm like playing second round some tournament against previous European champion. I'm like, what the heck? And they just kick you out, and then it's really hard to win any tournaments there.
I would imagine there would be some kind of benefit to that because it's you're like I get the weight thing because you're attracting more people that could play the sport, but at the same time it's kind of like demotivating because there's kind of a sick feeling when I win against a player that is obviously better than I am, and I kind of feel like, yay, but
Yeah.
yeah. Do you feel so when you came over here and it was like this weighted system? Were you like, was that demotivating or?
Mixed, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I first started, I was a bit surprised. I was like, yeah, like you said, like if I would lose against a lower ranked player, I would feel like this is not fair. Like, I'm clearly like better, but at the same time, I think it's more challenging because, yeah, if you will play some tournament in Germany, then you might very easily beat like the first two players, let's say in round 1 and 2, and then it will be kind of sad for them because maybe they're very low players and they just want to have some fun, but then they get beaten in the first round, and so I think in a sense it makes sense to have the weighted system, and then for higher level players it's good practice because you cannot basically play unfocused. You have to really take everything seriously, and it's kind of challenging, and I think it makes you a better player. Like I think I became a better player in the US because of that, because there was more competitions and there's nothing you can really take for granted because every time you have to give your best. And now I don't mind it that much anymore. Yeah, it's okay, I think.
Cool. So, how long have you been in league, and you're considering like next season you want to get more active in the tournament scenes, right?
Yeah. So now I played team 9 ball and straight pool. Even though the weighted, like the handicap system is fine, I feel like I want to play more big tournaments, just to really try and beat good players. Because again, like here I might lose against a lower ranked player, but I know it's because of the handicap, and it's not because they outplayed me. But I really want to, if I lose, I want to lose because I got crushed because the other person was better. And so I think that's the only way is like to just play bigger tournaments. So I did sign up for the Turning Stone and then US Open. So we'll see. I probably try to play some tournaments before that just to practice more, just like local tournaments, maybe some Jaws Tour or so. And yeah, just to kind of get ready to be under pressure, because the feeling is totally different. If you know you play against someone that can run out like 3 racks, then you really can't make a mistake. And it is really still a big difference than playing someone with a handicap where, let's say I know I can miss the 1 ball because I'll get back to the table at the 7 ball. It's a different thing, right? Like
it's just completely different thing.
You play different, you attack different shots. Like I might not play safety on a certain shot even though I should. And I think it really also kind of messes with your game. Like you might just get some bad habits that then come to bite you when you actually are playing good people.
How is your safety game anyway?
I think it's all right, yeah.
Feel pretty comfortable with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think safeties are fine. I think what I struggle most is still I miss some shots that I shouldn't miss. Or I'm just like, making some mental error that I just like attack a shot that I shouldn't attack. I think what a lot of people talk about when at a higher level is sort of playing the percentages. Just meaning, yes, you might make that shot, but let's say you only make it 2 out of 10. So that's 20%, right? So, and there's another safety, and it's 40%. It's also not a good option, but it's much
slightly
safer,
better,
right?
Yeah.
Then, it depending on the situation, you should play either of the 2 shots. In, let's say, the beginning of a match, you should probably play the safe. But let's say your opponent is on the hill and you still need 6 games, then you should probably attack the shot. And so, sometimes I might make a bad judgment call, either because I'm like lazy or because I just don't think it through well enough, and I just might attack the shot even though I should play it safe. So and that can just kind of creep in when you play certain level players, and I think good players really punish you there, and so you will recognize that I should not play like that anymore. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. The better I get, the more the run out really really calls to you, because like trying to get it, even though I'm not there yet. And it's kind of hard to find that balance, but I think that's kind of what playing the percentages is all about. And 1 second, the camera died, so I'm gonna get a new battery.
Yep.
Then I want to ask you about the U.S. Open thing and how you got in and what that's all about and when it's going to be.
Okay.
By the way, I appreciate you being like my first interview I've ever done. This is kind of
I don't know if anyone will ever watch it or not. But.
Heck, you know what? I don't know either. I like learning about pool and I like talking to people about pool.
Yeah.
So
you should actually start it. You should interview like all the, whether it's top pros or local regional people. I think this is actually kind of missing, because I don't know almost any interviews of top players. I know actually Jim Murnack did this like 11 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, he had like, I think Zion and Tony Robles and stuff. He did like a 40-minute interview with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it would be great to get more insight into, how people are off the table, not just like a 1 minute Mosconi Cup interview where it's like,
I know.
how did you play,
I'm going to play well. I believe I'm going to win.
I would like to learn more about how did they start, what is their family thinking of them playing pool.
Yeah, I know. What are the struggles? I'm sure there are, because
there are so many. Yeah,
there's, we probably all have a lot of judgmental family that is probably against. Like when I go to play a league night, that I'm just saying they're getting drunk or something like that.
Yeah.
But thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, when is the US? How did you even get into it?
Oh, I just paid.
Oh, okay.
It's actually really easy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think US Open this year is it's end of August, September, I think. Or actually no, I think it's middle of September. It's like 25th of September, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty expensive. It's like
Well, that's the one at Harrah's, New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like $750 entry fee. And then you need to stay at the hotel and all that stuff. But yeah, it's always been something I wanted to do. And
wait, this is your first time?
It's the first time, yeah. And I know Ryan and like some other people went, and they said, oh, it's great. Even if you are out of the tournament, you can just hang out and like see all the other players. And yeah, I was like, you never know. If you win 2 matches, you might be through to the last 64. You are pretty much making even already. And it's going to be tough, because I think everyone that's not a seeded player gets put against a seeded player, so like against the top players.
Mm-hmm.
So most likely I'll get some, killer right in the first round. But I mean, that's what I want, right? Like, I think honestly at that level, it's kind of like 2 mistakes make the difference. So, if someone has a good day, then they can, I think, beat a pro if they have a bad day. You just need to be a bit lucky, and just not make any silly mistakes. And then I think you have a chance. And I think that's what I started to learn. Like, some people I didn't know, like, because I only came here, and so I wasn't really aware of who they are. And when you know someone and that they're a great player, you are more scared, I think.
Yeah.
And you make mistakes, right? But now, I played a Joss Tour recently, and I played someone called Frankie Hernandez, and I think he's pretty known in New York, and he used to be a pretty big money player and stuff. I knew his name, but I didn't really know him. And so I just didn't really care. And so I played really well, and I won. And only later I read up a little bit, like who's this person?
Like, oh shoot.
And and I was like, oh wow, this is a really good player. And and then to me it was like, yeah, but it actually doesn't matter. Like if I run out, there's nothing they can do. It does not matter if they won the last World 9-ball title or not. like there's nothing they can do about it. And the same thing for them, right? If they run out, I can do nothing about it. So you really have to just focus on yourself and just believe at some point that you can beat any of these people. And again, if you take it step by step, you think more about the balls than about the whole game, then I think it can really like help you to just overcome this mental block of playing someone that is much better, and you just focus more on the game and satisfying your own imaginations and stuff.
Still easier said than done, but
Sure, yeah.
yeah. It's a work in progress. So what are you going to do to train?
I think I'll start
Well, if
practicing
you are,
more.
yeah.
I'm definitely gonna. So when I came here, and even before back home, I almost never did drills anymore, because I only played like once or twice a week, and I played with my friends, my teammates back then, and we would just play like two sets of straight pull or like, you know, some sets. But I didn't really practice anymore. I wouldn't call it practice, I just playing. And then when I came here, again, I just played the leagues. And so I just kind of decided I'm like not gonna practice. Two times a week is like enough for me. But now, you know, I start to realize I have some errors in my game. And so I wanna like, you know, maybe add another day or so per week to just focus more on that. Like maybe, like I said, I might play the 9-ball league less and just instead either play a tournament or come here to just practice more and really focus more on technique, focus on certain shots that, you know, you tend to miss under pressure, and just get more confidence again. Like I think the biggest issue is if you're not confident and you have doubts, you're not gonna make it.
It's already
right?
over. Yeah.
And so if you play a big tournament, you have to really be able to trust your fundamentals and your basic intuitions about the game. And if you don't play enough, you're just gonna feel very shaky under the first pressure shot. And yeah, I just kind of want to be prepared for that. So I want to do both exercise and also play big tournaments to just get ready for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to do like drills, like technique drills, or just like run out drills, or
Yeah.
you're probably beyond run out drills, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably focus more on like position drills and like technique drills.
Yeah.
So for example, one thing that I really realized playing straight pool is the stun shot, sort of what some people call force follow, is just so underrated. So a lot of times I think you have some imagination, like I want to get to that position, and you, in your head, you're like, oh, I need kind of like a stop shot, but like a little bit less angle, right? I need like the white ball to move a little bit forward, kind of take away from a tangent line.
Yeah.
And this shot is much trickier than most people think. And so many times in straight pool, I'm having some idea of I want to break up this cluster and I need to hit this and this ball. And I tend to always play a stop shot instead of this kind of force follow. And I miss the ball, and it's like so frustrating. Or you might have a certain position shot and you know, oh, I just need to roll like one ball rotation further. It's like, let's say a straight in shot, and to get straight on the next ball, I need like just one rotation more. And you play a stop shot and suddenly you have an angle, and it makes the whole game messed up. And so these kind of little things I need to practice again. I used to be able to do this, but now I sometimes I just like make a silly error because I'm lacking this kind of finesse in the game. And it's easy to train, you just have to invest the time. Yeah.
Wait a second. I want you to clarify what do you mean by one rotation more?
Right, so if you have the white ball.
Do you actually mean, yeah?
Yeah, so let's say, you know, you have the white ball and the object ball, and I play a stop shot. The white ball is gonna hit the 7, it's gonna stand there, right?
Oh, you mean like
but I want to replace the 7. I want to hit the 7, and I want the white ball to move one rotation more, right?
Yeah.
And that comes up so many times, where both in position play, actually more in precision play. It's really like underrated how many times the shot comes up. And it's hard to play because you need to play pretty much center ball, maybe just a touch
tiny bit higher.
Above the center. And it's so hard to time because if it's a long distance, you need to basically go a bit lower, right? Because now you have a longer distance, so the cue ball starts to slide and then it starts to rotate a little bit forward. So if you have a long distance, you don't want to hit above the center because then you have
to really slam it.
Yeah, you have to slam it, and you might actually make a follow shot. And so really being able to control that is not that easy. And so that's just something you have to put in the hours to do. And probably within a week you can really, get used to it again.
Maybe a week for you.
No, I mean, it's like,
just kidding.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's not that hard, but it's just something that I noticed, like this kind of stuff really makes a difference. And yeah, if you don't practice this, then you kind of like just guess the shot. You might want to play it, but then you're not totally secure, like how high do you need to be, what speed, and then you constantly run into like position errors. And so these kind of little things I just need to practice again and just get the confidence back that, when I see the shot, I know what to do and I can rely on the technique.
And you trust yourself that you'll be able to carry it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on in pool. Okay, so briefly want to talk about what kind of things you teach. Mm-hmm. Like, so you teach out in Amsterdam?
Right,
or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool. And are they, what skill level are most of them?
Yeah, so I teach anyone that wants to get better.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy all skill levels. I think beginners is kind of fun because the progress can be very quick. Mm-hmm. Even if they never held a cue and they just want to get started, mm-hmm. I think it's kind of fun because it's very fast for them to pick things up usually, at least the basics, and then they
and you also got them when they're new at this, so you can
train
all the proper mechanics and fundamentals. Yeah.
It's kind of easy almost because then you can instill the basics from the start and you don't have to correct a lot of things that maybe more established players made wrong for 5 years. And I mean, the beginners, they get more joy out of it initially because they just care more about making the balls, and so there is less.
So they're immediately impressed.
Yeah, it's kind of like fun. It's like small child that loves. That likes to make the first steps, and then, I mean, intermediate players is nice because you don't need to care about the fundamentals often, and you can more think about the more high-level strategic or this kind of finesse things. So that's also a lot of fun for me. And then what I don't have yet as people is like really high level. I actually would love to have someone like that.
How
player, A plus, open, that type of player. Because I think there it's really this tiny differences that would improve them a lot. Like I said, it's more like if, let's say, a pro plays against an open or an A plus player, I mean, they're probably gonna win like 9 out of 10 games or races, right? But it's really like these tiny differences that kind of add up. And I think that's just fun to find out what's missing and then correct that. But right now, I mean, there's not that many players at that level, and so I don't have anyone at that skill level. But yeah, if anyone is interested, I'm happy to teach that.
So if you're a pro open player.
Yeah, I mean, again, it might be that I also learn a lot from them. Like that would also be fun for me, and maybe that's more like sort of just like playing together and like figuring out together what's wrong.
Yeah.
But I think I have dealt with a lot of mistakes for myself, and so I started to develop some solutions for that, and it would be nice to kind of help someone out who might have the same problems, right? And not they don't have to struggle with all that stuff. And yeah, I think I'm more interested in the sort of mental stuff, in the tiny differences. That would be kind of fun for me to do, yeah.
I can imagine. On that note, what are some of like the most common? What are some of those like the little tweaks that you, or some of the most common like mistakes that you see like intermediate players make, and like higher level players make?
Yeah, higher level is almost easier, I think,
Yeah.
because I think it's almost purely decision making. I think, like if they have a good technique, that's kind of like solved for them. But I think it's almost always they play the wrong shot. I think a lot of people, for example, don't play into the line of the shot, so they like cross the line. So by line I mean the shot for the next object ball into the pocket. You have like a certain area that you can run the cue ball into that gives you the right angle to play the next shot. And a lot of people just kind of like cross over that line, and then it's a very narrow window that you can reach to have the right angle. And so it's purely making the right decision to run in towards the next shot in the proper angle, where you then have a broader window where you're always going to have a good shot. And yeah, like when I, for example, play sometimes with higher level players, and I'm like, maybe playing Scotch doubles or so, and I might ask them like, why do you play like this? Then they just didn't think it through, and they just just kind of like thought,
assumed.
Yeah, they thought, oh, that's the right way, but most of the time it just wasn't the right call, and it might work out for, let's say, 7 out of 10 times, but then 3 times they overrun or they underrun, and then they're saved or they miss the next shot, and that again makes a difference. So I think that's kind of like pretty easy to correct, because you can even just do that like playing Scotch doubles with a great player, and just predicting where is the cue ball gonna go and what is the right position play kind of gives you another self-awareness of, oh, I'm constantly like, I'm playing it wrong, right? And
I gotta bring it up to speed and figure out how to close that gap.
Once I think you realize this as a good player, you can translate it pretty easily in your own game without having anyone to really, be your constant coach. It's really like a mindset, and once you realize it once, you can just apply it to a big part of your game. And then I think the sort of good players, it's still a bit also safety games. This is just like gonna make such a difference if you want to be better players, because people get better and better in kicking and jump cues and all that stuff. So you have to learn, for example, what is a high percentage safe, what's a low percentage safe. A lot of people, I think, they see some very sophisticated safe on YouTube or something, and then they think I have to do that. And they, I don't know, might try to lock the cue ball to the object ball to really be safe.
It's really hard.
But then they overrun because it's just really difficult.
It's
and
really
so
hard.
I think then, again, that's a bit more decision-making errors, where they try maybe to play too perfect, or they might try to play some specific safe, but there's a much easier safe that can just as well give you the next opening. And I think there are some drills that you can do that just help you to kind of be more practical and play like the better percentage shots.
You know how to, you know drills, safety drills?
Yeah.
You're sharing this with me, right?
Oh yeah, I can.
Okay, good.
But
Is that one of your sheets over there? Is it on your sheets?
No, that's not. But
Okay.
Safety drills are more about speed control.
Yeah.
So there are some drills to basically learn that. For example, to take the table and put it in, split it into squares, like basically have a grid, and you just have one ball on the table and the white ball, and you have to tell me before you play, where do you push the object ball and where's the white ball gonna go, and you have to nominate the squares where you're gonna land.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I like
it's very easy, and you can
Yeah.
it's continuous drill, so you can just keep playing,
Yeah.
and you can tell me how many you get right, because it's gonna be hard to both control cue ball and white ball.
Yeah, it is.
And object ball, and so once you get good at that, you really, like the next time you have a save, you can just see which square do I need to hit to save my opponent, right? and then you have a better idea of like what speed and is that even feasible. Like, you know, you start to learn like some position plays are just not very practical. Like, you know, hitting an object ball super thin is just pretty risky sometimes. There might be some other safe that just plays on distance rather than snookering. And yes, this kind of game can be a lot of fun. And I think, yeah, like good players, they don't do that. They focus more on like just potting balls or whatever. But sometimes it's just better if you don't have a good shot, just play safe. And if you play against even open plus player, they might make a mistake and you get an open shot again. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that safety drill because sometimes I know there's a safe somewhere. Well, I mean, there's a safe in like most places. Oh, I see Emily, but it's because I don't know where, like what is options available.
Yeah.
So really quick, what are some common mistakes that like intermediate players make? Or
right. Yeah. That I think is mostly not hitting the cue ball where they want to hit it.
Like I did.
Yeah, I think it's a big problem. That people have like just slight flaws in their technique or in their cue ball control, where they just give unwanted side spin, or they just don't accelerate through the cue ball, or it's like decision making errors again, but in a different form. It might just be. You know, like for good players, they might cross the line, right? They might not run into the line. But for a lower intermediate player, it might be just playing totally for the wrong pocket as the next position play. Or just, for example, trying too much. Like oftentimes for good players, because their shot making abilities are better, they might just play for the longer shot. They might just sort of accept a position and they just roll the ball in and they just take a long shot across the table rather than trying to go free rails with a lot of spin or something. And that's, I think, sometimes intermediate players, they overthink things and they have like some crazy idea in their head that they want to do.
Because of like watching pro matches and thinking, oh yeah, this is what I got to do.
And then they don't fully think it through and then they make some error. But yeah, there is much more variability, I would say, for intermediate players, the types of mistakes they make. For higher level players, it's much more consistent, the type of mistakes.
That makes a lot of sense, because there's still a lot of fundamentals that need to be fine-tuned.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks, Christoph, so much. This was a lot of fun, and I had a really great lesson. Also very informative lesson again, because you like, I like how you explain like not just like the mistake itself, but also like reasons for that mistake, you know, and like how they come about in the first place, which brings about a more like inspires a more organic resolution to them.
Right.
But all right, cool. So yeah, thank you so much for joining again, and I don't know how to say goodbye. I don't know.
Bye.
We'll just bye guys. What's up, guys? This was my first ever interview. It's a work in progress and a skill that I would like to develop over time because it's something that means a lot to me. I like talking to people about pool. I'm funding all of this out of my own money, so it's very much a passion project for me. It means a lot that you guys are a part of this. Thanks, guys.